Namaste, yogis. My name is Nin. Welcome to Nin Yoga. Today's class is yoga for rowing and for rowers. Now, this class will be working on stretching out your fingers, your upper arms, because obviously you're going to be using them, or you do use them a lot when rowing. We're also going to be doing some core exercises. We're going to increase spine mobility because that's obviously an area where there's a lot of pressure on it as you row through and wade through the water. And also we will be putting some practice into opening up our hips, because again, these are the areas that can get very tight when you're sat upright for a couple of hours, maybe rowing along the river against the water. This class, however, can be practiced by anyone. You don't have to be a rower. So the class will be working, we're going to do some standing poses, then we're going to come down, and then we're going to come up again just to stretch out a few final areas like the hamstrings and the hips. So with that said, you may want a block or two just nearby to help support you, but you can do this class without any props. So let's begin. And the first move we're actually going to do is come to a standing position. Now just take a step on your mat. Just make sure that your feet are below your hips. And just stand up straight, straightening out your spine. Make sure it's not hunched forward. Imagine there's a piece of string pulling through your crown so that you're standing upright. And just find your center of gravity here. Take an inhale and an exhale. Just check in. Are your shoulders away from your ears? Are your shoulder blades coming towards each other? Is your heart above your pelvis? Just breathe here. And then what I'd like you to do is bring your hands out in front of you like this. And then rotate them round. So bringing your thumbs up and have your thumbs out to the side like this. And then with your right hand, I'd like you to bring, keeping your arms straight, bring your fingers in towards your left wrist using your right arm to pull them in. And this is a really nice stretch for those of you that you're gripping tightly onto some oars in a counter pose to this. Maybe you want to just stretch through the fingers one by one. Just stretch them back, don't pull too hard. And then bringing your right arm up and have your right thumb so it's facing outwards like this. And then with your left palm, just pulling your right fingers towards your right wrist, letting your thumb stick out if you need to. And just feel that stretch and elongation along your right wrist. And then if you like, again, just using your hands to stretch out finger by finger, providing a nice counter pose. And then just shake your wrists out. Just get that circulation in them. Again, they might have been frozen in place for quite a bit. So just standing, again, checking in that your heels are hip width apart. And then bringing your hands up to the sky above you. Just bringing, and I'll just show you here, bringing your right hand over your left wrist and bring it right up above you. And then begin to tilt towards the right hand side and feel that lovely stretch in your intercostal muscles on the left hand side. Stretch out the ribs that are so often hunched up as you sit in your boat. Inhale through that, then come back to center, then swapping the arms around, having your left hand across your right wrist, and then coming down towards the left hand side. And feel that stretch on the other side, and it might feel better on one side than the other. Just loosen those muscles They might be just tight and stiff with lactic acid. And just let the blood flow and begin to circulate, releasing any blockages. Inhale, exhale, come back to center. Now bringing your palms together, interlace the hands, and then just stretch the arms out in front of you, bringing your head down towards your chest, arching your spine, bringing the shoulder blades apart. Inhale here, and then exhale, and then interlace the hands behind you, bring your shoulder blades together, look up to the sky. Inhale, exhale, come back to center, and now we're going to come to the side of our mat and just do a sun salutation. So I'll walk you through this. Inhale up to the sky, and sun salutations are great for getting the blood circulating. Inhale, bringing your palms together, parallel with one another. Ears away from the shoulders, heart above the pelvis. Exhale, come down to the mat with your hands bending your legs, or your knees rather if you need to, and this feels really good on the lower back and in the hamstrings. Inhale, bringing your hands towards your shins and bringing your back out straight in front of you. Feeling that lovely stretch in the calves. Exhale, bringing the palms down flat on the mat, and then take a step back into a plank. So here, just make sure that your spine is straight, or if you need to, bring your knees down and just support yourself here. Inhale, bringing your elbows towards one another. Slowly hover here, then bringing your belly, chin, chest down to the mat. Exhale, come up into a Cobra pose, and this feels really lovely again on the lower spine. And just stay here for a second. Exhale. Now come back into a child's pose, so bringing your feet back to your heels. And then, tucking the toes under, come into a downward facing dog, lifting your seat up to the sky, and then maybe just pedaling through the calves. Again, the calves don't get much movement when you're rowing, so it's important to stretch these out. Let your head hang down. Check whether your elbows align with your biceps. Your ears align with your biceps even. That would be an interesting move. And you're in an upside down V here. And exhale slowly here, bringing your knees down to the mat. And we're going to do a couple of cat-cows, and these are particularly effective for increasing spine mobility. So what I would like you to do here is have your hands underneath your shoulders, have your knees hip width apart, and then have your head hanging in a neutral pose. Begin to arch the spine, let your head hang, let your tailbone come in. And exhale, open up the chest, bring the belly down to the mat, lifting up that tailbone, and just feel that lovely stretch in the spine. Exhale, curling the spine again. Just stay here for a second. Let your head hang down neutrally. Let your tailbone tuck in. And exhale, bringing your shoulder blades towards one another. Bring your belly down to the mat. Bring your tailbone up to the sky. And now we're going to move on to doing some poses on our arms. So the first pose we're going to do is thread the needle. So what I'd like you to do is lifting up with your right arm here. Look up to the sky, opening up your shoulders, bringing your shoulder blades towards one another, and then threading your right palm underneath your left. Making sure that your hips are above your knees still, and you may want to stay here just like this. Or if you like, walking out with the right arm so that it's in front of you. And just lie down here, taking a few breaths. This is an excellent pose for releasing the shoulders. If it becomes too much, just place your right palm down onto the floor again. Just support yourself here. Do whatever you need to do. Taking 3 more breaths here. And then slowly pressing down into your left palm, come back up into your tabletop pose and just do a few circles here, noticing how that might feel on one side compared to the other. And then come back to center. And then I'd like you to twizzle round with your right knee. Get my left and right. And then bringing your left leg out in a diagonal type position behind you. And then lifting up with your left palm up to the sky. And if you can, looking up towards your left palm. Stretch here, and if you can, reaching over with your left palm over your head, and you should feel this lovely pull on the left hand side of your body again. Again, really important to stretch the side of your body out here because you're going to be hunched up so much, wading against water, using your core there. Exhale, come back into tabletop, and we'll take that to the other side. So we'll begin by lifting up our left palm up to the sky, looking over and up, and then threading it under, this time our right arm. And just maintain your position here. You might want to bring your right arm down to support you here, or extend it out in front of you. Take a few breaths here. We'll be in here, this pose for a while, and just check in. Are your hips above your knees? And then begin to push down into your right hand again, pressing into your left as you come back up into tabletop, and just do a few circles here again. Just realign yourself. And then twizzle your left leg, left knee around to the back of your mat, bringing your right foot around to meet, and have an almost diagonal type shape. Coming up the right hand side of your body, and then lifting your right palm, looking up towards it. If you like, you might be able to bring your right arm over your head and stretch out those intercostal muscles. Making sure that your shoulder doesn't come forward, just making sure that you're pushing back while stretching out the side of your body. Exhale, beautiful, well done. Come back down into tabletop. Just notice the change there. And then come down onto your knees, onto your heels. And then we're going to take a saddle pose. So bring your feet out in front of you. Just let your legs go from side to side here. Then come to center. You might want to move the flesh of your seat out to the side. Inhale, bringing your palms up above you. Straighten up your spine, stretch out your ribs. And then we're going to come forward slightly. So this might be where you put your hands on your shins and just let your head hang here. Or if you want to, you might be able to bring your palms forward slightly so that they meet your ankles. And if it's available, you might even be able to wrap your fingers around your feet. But if you've been in a position where you're hunched up and you haven't been stretching your hamstrings for a while because you've been rowing, then don't worry. Just come back to a less intense position. We're all on a journey here. Do whatever feels good for you today. Just feel that stretch in your hamstrings, in your spine, and let your head hang down towards the earth. Inhale, exhale, come back up to seated slowly and mindfully. Now I'm just going to come round to face you here. This next pose, I'd like you to bring your heel in towards your pelvis, your right heel, and then just begin to lift up your right leg and just hold it with your hands. Maybe just move it from side to side here. And this is a really nice stretch for keeping your hips bent. And feel free to adjust this however you want. And then just rock from side to side. Then do some circle motions. This is a really nice stretch to get your ball and socket moving. Maybe you want to move your leg up and down here. Do whatever feels good here. Just making sure that you could stretch. And then you might just come to a more still position. Just feeling that lovely stretch in your right hand side. And then slowly release. And we'll come to the other side. So you might notice a difference immediately. This side might be less flexible than the other. So bringing this time your left foot in towards your pelvis, straightening out with your right leg. And then slowly bringing your elbow around your left foot and bringing the palms so they can touch each other. And if they can't, that's absolutely fine. I'm finding here I'm a lot tighter in this side of my body, and that's fine. You may not feel that. So do whatever feels best for you. And then here, begin to rock from side to side. So again, you begin to loosen up the ball and socket here. And that might feel particularly good. Or you might want to move your leg up and down, and maybe in a circular motion. And then maybe going into an anti-clockwise motion. Or you might just want to bring it towards you and keep it still. And you might feel that lovely stretch down through the left-hand side of your hips. And then release your feet and just wiggle out your legs in front of you. And then I'm just going to come around. We're going to come back down onto our mat and do a very good deep hip stretch here. And bringing your knees towards your armpits as much as you can. And then begin to straighten your feet up towards the sky, trying to keep them flexed. And if you can, grabbing the sides of your feet. And maybe rock from side to side, if you can here. And tucking your elbows into your knees. And this is what we call a happy baby stretch. And it's really good. Again, you can probably tell, for opening up the hips. try and bring your knees towards your armpits here, just opening up your pelvis. I'm not going to be here for much longer, but again, it's just a counter pose. So what you'll be doing as you're sat upright and maybe clenching your hips a lot. Exhale, just come down to the mat. Well done. Bring the soles of your feet to the mat. Now, we're going to come up start beginning to roll up on our backs. So don't rest just yet. So just slowly begin to roll and roll. Get the spine moving. Give yourself a little massage here. And then once you come up, we're going to do a pose called boat pose. We couldn't have a yoga for rowers without a boat pose, I'm afraid. So what I want you to do here is just clasp your hands around your knees and rock back with your spine. So it's in a diagonal type motion. And then slowly begin to lift your feet off the mat. Now you might only be able to get them up parallel to the mat, and that's absolutely fine. We might be able to straighten your legs and then bring your palms out parallel next to your knees. I'm just going to stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then slowly bending your knees and taking your feet down to the mat. Well done. That will be really good for warming up the core. And now, just coming on to your knees. Just rest here momentarily. Find your center. And the last couple of moves we're going to do are going to help with our hamstrings, which again do not get a lot of exercise when we row. So slowly here, come back down into tabletop. Start moving the spine around. Tuck the toes under here and come into a downward facing dog. So here is a good hamstring stretch. Begin to pedal out. Checking your biceps are in line with your ears. And bringing your heels down towards the mat. Step or jump forward between the gates of your palms and let yourself hang here. Inhale halfway. Exhale, come back down to the mat. And then slowly, via vertebra by vertebra, coming up to a standing pose, a mountain pose. Just let the blood come up to your head again before you do anything else. Palms out beside you, opening them up. Check that your heels are beneath your hips. Your heart is above your pelvis, your head is above your heart, and your spine is straight. Shoulder blades coming together. Inhale, bringing your palms up to the sky. Exhale, come down to the mat. Bring your fingers to the earth. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, down to the mat. And step back into a plank pose. And then just here, hover here for a second, then begin to bend your elbows in and we'll take a vinyasa. Bringing your stomach, chest and chin down to the mat. Inhale, up to Cobra, bring your shoulder blades together. And then come into child's pose. Stretching out, bringing your palms as far in front of you as you possibly can. Tuck the toes under, lifting your seat up into a downward facing dog. And then from here, lifting up your right leg to the sky and maybe letting your right foot drop out beside you to open up your hips. And then step forward with your right foot as we take a low lunge. So bringing your left knee down to the mat and just bending in here really far down into our hips, checking that your right knee is above the right ankle. Just feel that stretch here in your hips, giving the chance to open up in a different way. We'll store a lot of tension in our hips as we row, so maybe just circle in these if you like. or just come to center and just take another 3 breaths here. Take a final inhale here, palms either side of your right foot, tucking your left foot under, and then come back and step into a downward facing dog. Just find your center, let the blood run up to your head again. Before we lift up, this time our left leg up to the sky, and then let our left leg bend out to the side, opening up your hips here. Inhale, then bringing your left leg in between the gates of your palms and bringing your right knee down to the mat, and we'll take a low lunge on the other side. Again, just giving ourselves the opportunity to open up our hips. And if you like, just rolling around again. This feels really good on this side for me. I must be putting a lot of weight into one side, probably somehow because I've got one arm stronger than the other. It affects the whole body and where I exert pressure. And then bringing your left foot back to meet your right, tucking the toes under, and take a downward facing dog. And just feeling that stretch in the calves. Then begin to walk forward so that your feet are between the gates of your palms. And let yourself hang here, maybe hugging your elbows, and move from side to side. Lifting halfway up, straighten up your back. Exhale, come down to the mat, and then vertebra by vertebra, standing up into a mountain pose. Good. Just again, let your breath come up, let the blood flow up to your head, let your shoulders hang away from your head, keep your spine straight. And then I'm just going to come to the front of the mat, and it's best probably if you face me. So we're going to stand here with our legs further than hip width apart so that we're forming a triangle. And then moving your right foot out towards the side. And then slowly begin to bend down, reaching down to your right shin and lifting up with your left arm. You might even be able to come down to your ankle, or you might be able to reach the floor. Just make sure here that your shoulders don't fall forward like this, and that you're opening up and looking up, if you can, towards your left palm. And this is a lovely stretch, as you can probably feel, for the hamstrings. Just inhale here one more time. Exhale. Now begin to bend your leg as you come up, and slowly does it, do not fall. Slowly and with control. And then tucking your right foot in. And we'll take a wide-legged forward fold here. So inhale, bringing your hands to your waist, opening up the chest, and then slowly begin to bend forward, and bending forward from your hips here, not your spine. And you might be able to bend forward so that you can put your hands on your shins and just rest them here and feel that stretch in the hamstrings. If you like, you might be able to bring your palms to the mat and let your head hang here. Slowly placing some pressure in your heels, bringing your hands up to your hips. Slowly, slowly, slowly begin to release this pose and lift up your chest. So again, do this slowly and with control. No one needs to fall over. And then just let yourself become centered here. Reaching back with your shoulder blades. And then bringing your left palm this time down to meet your left shin. And let your left foot come out to the side. And then lifting up with your right palm, looking up towards it. And don't let your shoulders hang forward. And if you want to take this a little bit deeper, you might be able to come down to the ground with your left palm. But don't compromise bringing your shoulders forward. So do whatever feels right, and it might be completely different on one side compared to the other. Take a final inhale here, bending your left knee, and then coming back up into our wide-legged standing position. And then begin to bring your feet in towards each other. Bring your palms down to the mat and begin to squat and bend both your knees. If you feel some clicking there, that will be completely normal. So just come here and go from side to side with your hips, feeling them open up again. And once you've done enough of these, come into the center. Now you might need a block here to sit on. And bringing your elbows in towards your knees. Bring your hands together. And we'll finish with a yogi squat. So this is one variation of the pose. If you like, you might be able to do this without a block. Just bringing your feet flat on the mat and opening up your knees. Bringing your hands to your chest and try and keep your spine straight as possible. Taking a couple more breaths here, just feeling your hips open wide. And then exhale, rolling back onto your seat. And we'll come into our final resting pose of Shavasana. So begin to roll down to the mat. Let your feet come out beside you. Open up your hands. Notice that your breath might be increased. But just let it slow down now. And then exhale. Slowly bring the soles of your feet to the mat. fall down either side. Bringing your palms down to the floor, your right palm or your left, depending on where you're sat. And then come up into a seated pose. And then rolling the shoulders back. Just take a moment here. Bringing your hand towards your heart. And we bow and say Namaste. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for that Yoga for Rowing compilation. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. I have plenty more outdoor activity themed yoga classes on my channel. And please leave a comment below. I'd love to know how you feel and where you're going maybe next rowing and how you got on. Namaste, and I hope to see you again soon.